We're going live. We're going live. It's the live song. I think we're live. We are
We
live. What
are.
is back? What is back? What is up, YouTube? We are back. Welcome back to another realm-splitting episode of the best darn show on the internet, the Sharon Show. And boy, are we excited about today's episode because we never really even talk about current events anymore. And we're not really even going to be talking about current events, just in our own lives and what we're seeing. So if you're somebody who avoids outside influences like we do, don't worry. We're not going to be talking about anything that happened. And if you're somebody who likes all the things that are happening or pays attention to all the things that are happening, stick around because you'll see how it lines up. Don't worry. We just don't make references. We honestly, we don't even know what's going on. I get my news when I'm at gigs and I hear people giving speeches. That's how I get my news. We'll talk about it later. I found out about some crazy things that happened in Connecticut. I was just there hanging out and I'm like, what? Anyway, so yes, welcome back everybody to another realm splitting episode of the Sharon Show. How are you doing today, Sharon?
I'm doing well, thank you. I hope my sound is okay. I'm trying to work on well, I guess work with what I have here.
Yeah. Yeah, Sharon's on location, traveling the nation. And so it happened before in some of the older episodes. My audio wasn't as good. Whatever. But I think again, the message gets through, and you have a great voice for podcasting anyway, so it comes through. People will be fine.
Grazie.
Grazie, prego. So I have a quote for today, and this is a quote Sharon sent over, and
Well, we can do a little background. I found it in a book I was reading, and I just took a snapshot of it and sent it to Brandon, and he looked it up. And because he likes to like get the exact quote, make sure it's right, and make sure it's attributed to the person that that it says it's attributed to. And of course, we're relying on the interwebs and all that, but whatever. Anyway.
yeah, this is according to AI. This is what he said. So everybody take it with a grain of salt, but we just like what it says, and yeah, this is what I found anyway. Here we go. Whatever is unknown is taken for marvelous. And
By Tacitus,
yeah,
whoever that guy
Tacitus.
was. He sounds Roman or Greek or something, one of those
I think he was a Roman
philosophers.
emperor when I was looking him up.
Emperor. Okay.
Because I was gonna sometimes I do pictures, but then it wasn't clear and I wasn't sure. So I was like, I'll just I don't
Good
want because
call.
one of them had a real big nose. I don't want to. It was so it's like a side profile. I'm like, what are they trying to say about this guy? Like historians are not.
Oh, Roman historian and politician,
Oh, there we go. Politician.
allegedly.
Okay.
Born around 56 CE and died around 120 CE. He is best known for his works, Annals and Histories, which provide valuable insights into the Roman Empire during the first century, and that is with AI assist from DuckDuckGo.
Thank you, artificial intelligence.
Yeah, I mean,
Because
it's
yeah.
helpful if it can summarize it for you in just a quick minute,
Oh
So,
yeah. Yeah, I'm just making a silly reference because it's not a like true artificial intelligence would be like intelligence would be a sentient being.
yeah,
So it's like artificial intelligence. But anyway, it's cool. Whatever we get to work with these days. We work with the tools we have. But
it's
yeah, I
just a
like
program,
yeah.
basically.
Yeah, exactly. I like this quote because I feel like it could be taken in two ways. The original way, the one you sent, the reworded version, kind of hit differently than this one does.
Right? I want to look at what I sent. I forgot what I
Yeah,
sent.
so I'll talk about this version of it really quick while you look at it. Whatever is unknown is taken for marvelous. So you can look at it as when you're a child and you don't know what the heck thunder and lightning is, and your mom tells you it's angels bowling in the sky, and you're like, that's marvelous. So there's that aspect of it. You can also look at it as like a religion in a religion sense. People are wooed and sucked into religions or find religions that work for them. I'm so judgmental with the way I talk. But in there's always some kind of mystery. They don't know how something's done or whatever. So to them in the back of their mind, it's like marvelous. I don't know.
Yeah. So I was looking at the one that I sent you, and it said, "All that we do not know is miraculous." And then I was looking at the kind of the homework you did to go look for what was the actual quote. And some explanation of it was that the unknown can be perceived as remarkable and that unfamiliar things can be viewed as extraordinary. So those are like three other ways of saying what Tacit allegedly originally said. So,
I like that because in one way you look at it, could be a warning to you. Because if you look at it backwards, you could be like, what are you looking at in your life that's marvelous or miraculous? And it's probably just because there's some unknown thing going on there. So don't put it on a pedestal and worship it, right? As we always say here. That's one way to look at it. But that's what I like about these quotes. I feel like there's always, especially these old Roman guys and Greek guys, and there's so many ways to look at them. And it also reminds me of the way that Michael Tsarion talks about the mystery and being okay with the mystery
yeah.
and just accepting it. So, if you realize that there's some like the way things work, like when you see omens all the time, or when I was at a wedding venue singing Fly Me to the Moon, because I've been onto that song lately. Sometimes I come home late at night when I'm done with a gig, and if some people in the neighborhood are being loud that day early, I'll just sing Fly Me to the Moon when I'm walking up. But I was singing it at this wedding venue, and then I walked outside and got some stuff and came in, and it was playing over the speakers after on the wedding venue. They just have like a radio going, like a wedding music
Walking
radio.
on the moon.
Yeah, exactly. Fly
That's
me to the moon.
that's funny because there's this guy that Cody sometimes will play his videos on YouTube, and I forgot his name. That's terrible. But anyway, I think it's Fran Francisco, or he's an Italian that is from, like, I think he's from around the East Coast, and he plays the organ, and he plays
Oh,
like a jazzy organ. He's a really big, heavy set guy. He's passed away since, but he used to play all these like jazzy, cool songs, and one of them was "Fly Me to the Moon." And there's a quote that Cody always says because it's kind of funny. But anyway, he's this guy is playing and they're playing that song, and then when it's over, the guy looks over to another guy in the band and he's like, "You like that one, Frank?" He's like, "Walk it on the moon," and then he's like, "Fly me to the moon," and then like he says "walking on the moon" a couple of times, and I'm like, "That's Sting's song. That's not the song you were playing. It's a different song." But
walking
he
on
got
the
it
moon.
right in the end. He was just like, "You like that one, Frank?" So Cody and I always do that to each other now. "You like that one, Frank?"
You like that one, Frank? Frank, let's talk about Joe. That it's funny. I just have this thing that goes on because you have a thing you say Frank, and we have a thing where we say Hank, Elizabeth and I, because there's this song called "The Conversation" by Hank Williams Jr. And I believe the guy who sings the what's his name? He sings the Dukes of Hazzard song, "Just a Good Old Boy." It's Waylon Jennings. Never doing no harm. Anyway, there's this song called "The Conversation," and they're talking about Hank Williams Jr.'s dad, Hank Williams Sr. or whatever. In the beginning, he's like, "Hank, let's talk about your daddy." So Elizabeth has like no idea about this song, right? And it's just on shuffle, and it came up, and she's just like, "What the hell?" It's so funny. So we're always like, "Hank, let's talk about your daddy," and
That's
then
funny because
go ahead.
Cody's sister's dog is named after Hank Williams Jr. His name's Hank Williams Jr.
So when you see him next time and people are around, you could just be like, "Hank, let's talk about your daddy." And if they don't get that reference, they can all, you'd be like, "Guys, come on, you don't get it." Yeah, they'll get the reference.
Oh God.
In light of recent events that I won't speak about on this show, but we've talked about in past shows, it's funny because we're like, "Frank, let's talk about Joe." And also Frank H, that's so funny, right? You think Frank Herbert, and then this other man that could be in my life is Frank H as well.
That's funny.
I'm starting to think that Frank Herbert wrote Dune solely for me. And I don't care what anybody says. I think he wrote those 6 books because I'm on the
For his
last one
long
again. And
lost son.
yeah, I think I might be or something. He was transmitting. I'm an INTP. Allegedly, he was. Allegedly, I am. Uh, because I'm listening to the last book again, and it's just there's things that I'm
Last
like I don't
movie.
even remember these aspects, and I've listened to that book at least 3 times. I don't know, whatever. And I'm like, whoa, it's just deeper and deeper every time. It's crazy. But anyway, I don't want to go on a Dune rant. We do have to pull a card though. What were we talking
Yeah.
about?
And while you do, I was just going to talk about one more thing about the
Yeah, yeah, go
quote.
ahead. I was gonna say if you unless you have something. Yeah.
So the quote also makes me think of like when they say you don't know what you don't know. And there's that, I don't know if it's like a pie chart or something, but it's like what you know, right? And then what you know, or what you know that you don't know, or something like that. And what you don't know that you know, and what you don't know that you don't know. It was like it's funny,
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
and
And
it's real.
that's what a blind spot is. That's exactly the definition of a blind spot. And that's another thing you're right that I think this quote is kind of pointing at because we might think something, if we have a blind spot, we might think it's marvelous or awesome, but in the way, not as in a good thing, just as a giant, uh just like as a giant, I don't know, like there's this guy in the sky and, and we're in awe of him and all this stuff. It's like a mystery. So it talks about that's kind of what I was trying to talk about with a connection with religion with this quote or the warning that could be kind of implied in here. Yeah, good call. Good quote though. So simple, yet so many layers. It's like a tiny onion.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, if I
Well,
think of more to talk about that quote, and I'll talk about it later. I feel like there was
uh,
something else, but I can't remember.
and I think it has a lot to do with our episode, as you guys will see, even though we really have no structure for this episode, we kind of just have an idea of what we're going to talk about. But I think the topic is just so juicy, especially right now, because I'm talking while I shuffle too. I feel like we've been talking about this time for a while. This time that we're in right now, we were ahead, in well, Sharon and I in 2021 were talking, and then we started the show, and we've talked about kind of reality tunnels separating and people going different ways and what it's going to look like, or just a time where things are going to manifest a lot faster. And I feel like we're in that time. It's really crazy. Like we were talking about Ed Hardy. It's like he was a tattoo artist, then he started making shirts, and then like all these club, people, they weren't the nicest people. They would wear it and stuff. And Elizabeth and I were talking about it for some reason. She's like, "Yeah, I used to get it at Marshall's, and then all these people ruined it because these people who were not nice people were wearing it." I'll just say. Anyway, it's not a race thing, everybody. It's just it's like if you go to a club, you know what I mean. Anyway, or if you're in New Jersey, you'll know what I'm talking about now. So
I don't know what you're talking about.
no,
So
I know, but it's just it's like an expensive like Ed Hardy. He was a tattoo artist, but then they made all these t-shirts with his designs, and the t-shirts were like $100. It was like crazy. So people would wear them and be like, "Ah, look at me. I'm so." Anyway, so she's like, "Oh, you see him at Marshall's." And then the next day in a group text where I have my friends, shout out to Dion and Smokey, they sent a picture of somebody wearing a Hardy shirt, Ed Hardy shirt, and like, "Oh, this is coming back again." Like, oh, and my friend's like, "Yeah, they have it at Marshall's." And then I sent a picture of the or something, or I sent a picture of that to Elizabeth, and she's like, "Oh my God." I'm like, "Yeah, it's just I don't know how it works exactly, but it's crazy." Anyway, all right. Ooh, the Eight of Cups.
oh,
Did you didn't we just have something with maybe it was
I
something
feel
else?
like we did.
Because we had the Eight of Wands too, right? Or oh no,
Yeah.
Elizabeth might have
We
might
might
have
have had an Eight of Cups recently. Let's see. I'll look at my list.
I like this. Look at the dark. So I'm just going to talk about how this pertains to our episode. Let me just make my screen bigger so everybody can see it. Um, Pin me, man. All right, there we go. My mouse wasn't there. Right. So you see this background, it's like dark skies. You see a little bit of light on the horizon though, which is nice. And you see these cups, and it looks like they're this reminds me of Long Island Sound. Maybe if you're near a Great Lake, it would remind you of that. Maybe the ocean if it's not a really calm day, but usually it's a little crazier. So it's this nice calm body of water, but it's dark. Um, we don't know if it's morning or night, but there's like a separation here between dark and light, and then these flowers in the middle are still letting water out of them. I can't really see that much. There's like flowers above these cups. Anywho, I think what it means, kind of what we're going to be talking about in this episode, is that you see both in here. You see dark and light. You see these cups that are flourishing, giving water to some, and then so four of them have water and four don't. It's like a perfectly equal balance. And I see that a lot in the realm of what's going on. There's kind of like, let's wait. Let's wait till we start talking about what we're going to talk about in the episode. I'll just say now that this card is very synced up with it because it's going to have to do with, two sides and equal and like a shift and a balance and all this fun stuff. But what do you think about the Eight of Cups? And then
Okay,
maybe
so
I'll
I'm
say a
just
little
going to
more.
tell you that on Over Sharon 155, the first Kybalion episode we did, we pulled the 10 of cups. You pulled it from the Hermetic Tarot, and I pulled the 9 of cups from the Thoth.
All right.
So
So
I think
that's
that's, we
okay.
were thinking about that. So it's 10, 9, and now it's 8.
And that
And
must mean that it was Elizabeth who pulled the Eight of Cups the other day and then the Eight of Wands before that. All right, cool. Yeah, I remember that now. Eight, nine. So we're going backwards.
Mhm.
That's, I love it. I love it. Especially eight. It's such a good, it really represents the realm. I've talked about this before, how the eight in a number eight, you get where the number intersects or where the line intersects. That could also be your cross, which signifies this realm. And the crossing is where the realm actually is, like the intersection of, spirit and matter or whatever, however you want to call it, or the illusion of matter.
I have this little like a sticker
Yeah.
that I haven't used yet, but it's one of those uh, stickers that's for, I guess, people that need to like self-soothe or something, because it has this like a roughness to it.
Oh.
But it also on the inside, it says start here, and then it says breathe in, breathe out, breathe in,
Oh.
breathe out. And I have like different colors because my Cody's friends, we went to their house and they had a bunch of stickers. She's uh like take as many as you want. But there's different ones. There's like
That's so
this
cool.
one and like this one, but they all do that like breathe in, breathe out, or some are
Oh.
like breathe in, hold, you know,
They're
release.
all
Yeah.
all geometry. I love
Yeah,
it.
different kinds of geometries. And so yeah,
So cool.
since I had that 8 can also be infinity,
And, the
a
eight is really
lemniscate.
it's nothing more than if you take a circle and then twist it, yoop, it just turns
Mm,
into an eight,
yep.
so it's a cycle, but it's a cycle that intersects, right? You get this every once in a while
Yeah.
instead of a just going around like a like NASCAR taking left-hand turns all day. You're
Yeah.
it connotes a better flow, I think. Anyway, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I like that. And 8 is one of my numbers.
Yeah. It's a
8
good
and
one.
11 and 9 and 10
And
and 1. Those are my numbers.
I like also how I don't have any idea. Maybe I said that because we're going to be talking about the realm, and then the eight. It really signifies to me the eight is something that signifies this realm more than anything else. Any other number, maybe. No, the eight because it's like a cross. It's a cross hidden in there. It implies a cross and a circle, so it implies like 90-degree angles, and maybe that's how you square the circle, right? They are talking about squaring the circle, and you can never do it. Maybe you got to twist it, and then
Yeah.
you probably still wouldn't have 90-degree angles, but I don't know. I'm just scatting.
It's yeah, but you're getting close, I think.
Yeah. Well, and maybe that's what it is. It's since it is impossible, we get close. Let me just check out. Oh, the Ten of Cups is on the bottom. That's cool. And the Four of
I
Wands.
mean, it could be if it's perpendicular, like if it
Oh
intersects
yeah.
at a perpendicular, right? So
Yeah.
like if it's perpendicular, then
It
it
could.
is. So that could be squaring the circle. I was just looking at because I'm looking up the word lemniscate
Oh yeah,
or
Lemniscate or whatever.
lemniscate, lemniscate, and it says under.
Lemniscate. That's how Michael Tsarian says it.
Oh, okay.
I don't know how that's just his Irish accent though, so who knows?
Oh, oh,
Lemniscate. Sorry.
yeah, it could be. It says under that, it says analytic geometry, a plane curve, in other words, plane, a plane curve generated by the locus of the point at which a variable tangent to a rectangular hyperbola intersects a perpendicular from the center to the tangent. Like that makes any sense to me right now. Um,
How dare you?
but if we're on the right track, I thought the lemniscate was this, basically this figure, right? And if that's the
Yeah.
case, then if these intersect at like perpendicular at the perpendicular, then yes, they'd be 90 degrees.
Look at that, us decoding. We probably learned it and relearned it. That's
Yeah,
no, I like that though. And the eight, what a good card. Eight of Cups too. So we could talk about what the Eight of Cups means. Sometimes it means in the Rider Waite, you see this lady or somebody walking
that's
away.
what it was. I chose it for it was my reading for June. That's crazy. It was from my
Oh,
June. Yes, I just remembered. It was for my June reading because I'm like Eight of Cups, Eight of Cups. Oh yes, he's walking away from the
that's right. I knew you
situation.
talked about the Eight of Cups too. That's
Yes,
right. Okay, all right.
yes. So it was
And
my
and
reading.
and Elizabeth definitely pulled it too because I remember somebody pulling the card like from a deck. So yeah, the Eight of Cups, great card. It really, I feel like it signifies what's going on right now. I mean, I guess we could just kind of start to get into it, but I mean, dude, I don't really know because I don't watch the news. I don't even look on Instagram or nothing, but man, there's some crazy stuff going on. Like, I don't know if it would even be to the level of 2020 exactly, but I'm just saying, as far as like,
It's maybe attempting to get there or trying to do the same thing
if you're
or
somebody who, gets your news from your good source, you really would believe that the world is kind of on fire right now. I would imagine. I think there's a riot going on. Where there was a riot before. I don't know if it's still going on or I just saw the memes and stuff and people were so anyway, but it's so great. It's all perfect. That's what we're really here to say. There's nothing that anyone can do about it except try to view it as perfect. And
oh
I
yeah.
think in that attempt, even though Charles Bukowski says don't try, you could just see the world as perfect, I guess. But even in that attempt, I think that's where you can help do the most good around you and not judge. We're just going to say that right up front. Haha. That's the
Yeah.
episode. No.
So if let's just say I see a little white butterfly flying outside, that's cool.
Oh, see, that's what's going on. There's a
That's
white
cool.
butterfly.
So let's just say, if you know that you can't do, well, you can just try, I guess. If you know that you can't do it.
If you can't do anything about it, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. You could just try to see it as perfect. And the whole shout out to Zach. Uh, he's been on the show before, and because he asked me, he's like, "Is there something going on like in the constellations or the stars?" He's like, "My wife and I both." He's like, "We both noticed that just people are acting crazy lately," and I was like, "I'm not really because I like astrology and stuff, and I'm not really an expert in that area, more tarots and symbols, and I'm more just really moving into like." Being an expert of decoding what's in front of me, like when I see three crows chasing an eagle, in a suburban area.
Okay,
So
shepherd boy.
yeah, so that's more I'm working out. But I was like, I resonate with that, and I know what you're talking about, and I feel like really what's going on. And then I send a little paragraph of how I felt, and then I'm like, talk to Sharon. I'm like, maybe we should do an episode and talk about this stuff because this reality tunnel. I mean, that's what we put on the. That's what I put as the and Sharon loved it or agreed to as the title anyway. What we talk about with reality tunnels, it's what we kind of talk about every day with or every week with creating your own life in your own reality. It goes hand in hand with that because there's cultures out there, right? Like our great culture, the red, white, and blue. And if you watch, I feel like in the past it was different with cultures. They were um spread, I guess you could say, in a different way.
Mhm,
People would come
mhm.
into a land like the story we're told anyway about what happened in this in North America. You know, the settlers came here and they drove out all the natives and all this stuff, and they homogenized it and turned it all into the United States. And that's generally how culture used to be spread before, right? By the sword. That's how I say. But these days we have a radio, we have a television. You know, culture, I think, is spread. Yeah, we have the internet. And yeah,
Spread through the mind.
yeah, that's the other thing too, right? We have that other latent capability or always capability that we're not even aware of, which is, or most
The
of us.
the three-letter thing discovered the mind control method.
Yeah, exactly. So there's that too. But I feel like in today's day and age, a lot of it is like something I was thinking about recently is like the 60s and 70s, maybe even started in the 50s. There was this huge revolution, they call it like the Revolution of Love. It was mostly associated with the 60s. And I feel like a lot of it happened through music and through like psychedelic drugs and stuff like that. People's minds were open and there was all these different cultures that were even transplanted because I know my parents and family were really affected kind of by like the southern rock thing and it's cool to be like a redneck and all that stuff so they had family in Alabama and stuff but I feel like it was transplanted and it's because a lot of people don't have an identity so when you're in a culture like ours the United States or whatever, you have this identity, the red, white, and blue, and all this stuff. But when we're raised the way we are in society, we're taught to get all our validation from exterior sources. So we really have no identity. We're looking to others to provide validation for our identity and all that stuff. And really, all this stuff is just everything we talk about on a daily basis or a weekly basis. And we're just kind of putting it all together to let everyone know and kind of make sense of what's going on. So
Yeah.
go ahead, though, if
And
you want to
and
talk.
in like seeking validation from other people, like this obvious as we talk about this all the time,
Yeah.
but you're not like it's not about self, like where you're honoring yourself. You're just like what are other people going to say or or um you need to be on my side because or I'm the victim, listen to me. you know it's like don't take sides with them, take sides with me, I'm right, or I'm this and that and the other. So you're just kind of lying to yourself because you're not focusing on the root issue and the root thing, which is different for different people. But you know if you neglect that, you're constantly just going to be you know s- playing the victim and pointing the finger at everyone else. It's And that's what I see people doing all the time around me. Like, I can't help it. I mean, and I'm
Yeah.
not saying that it's like bad or anything because I was there before. And then
Yeah.
maybe I'm
Yeah.
there in certain other ways where I don't, where I have a blind spot or something. Or, sometimes I get myself in those situations maybe where I'm just feeling victimy or whatever. But I know that I can look at myself and I can do the like, okay, look at myself as I'm witnessing myself do something and act a certain way. And I can be like, okay, are you lying to yourself? Are you looking for validation? Or, what are you doing? What is the root cause right now? And that's how I can help myself. So I'm just speaking from experience, and I'm not trying to make anybody feel bad.
Yeah, yeah, we're not, again, we're not judging people, and we're not even really trying to preach or tell anybody what they should be doing. And hey, if you were doing this, really, we're just speaking to
We're just
people who
commenting.
yeah, yeah, we're speaking to people who watch our show and then also look out into the world and are like, wow, what the hell's going on? Because there's a lot of crossover with people who watch our show and then that are into like hidden truth or whatever, or some things might even be called conspiracies. And we're not really into conspiracy theories and truth here. We're more just into what we can see with our own eyes and what makes sense to us. And yeah, sometimes we make wild claims about the moon being made out of cheese, but it's just the nature of the show and our humor. And but the reason we really are talking to people is because I feel like this stuff right now is so polarizing and so dangerous that you could kind of be sucked in. It's like when I got, and I've told this story a bunch, but I won't tell the whole story, but when I got sucked into the water at Ocean City, Maryland, and I had to like survive in the waves, I was standing right on the edge of the water. I was like where the waves come in. So I was on the edge of the land and the water and not even up to my ankles. And the water came in past me. And then when it went back to go into the water, the sand under me just kind of sucked and I just kind of got sucked with the water. And I feel like that's a great analogy for what can happen to people of because it is fun to make fun of, and I'm not saying you should make fun or pay attention to any of this stuff, but what we're talking about is these whole creation of reality tunnels. This is where it gets a little sticky because I feel like now is the time when these reality tunnels are cementing. And that's kind of why people are going so crazy because they're vacillating back and forth. They're like shorting out. They're not really sure. They're like, wait, do I hate the government or do I love the new president? Is
Yeah. It's
this
like
or
this
wait?
big spectrum. It's like you have to choose whether you hate it or you love it. You can't be like neutral, or you can't be in between, or you can't just be like, I'm outside of that and I'm just looking at it, and I'm looking at you choose because I personally don't care.
Exactly. And that and in that example, of course, most people that watch this probably aren't into politics really much. But this goes for everything, not just politics in general, just watching the world itself burn. This is how you can get sucked in. It's like that thing where like be careful how long you stare into the abyss because it'll start staring back at you. And now, when I say reality tunnels, let's back up a little bit because it really, and this is what I want to say, it really is what we talk about on a weekly basis. We've been talking about for 4 years, Freemasons, basically, right? They call themselves Freemasons because they believe they're mentally creating their lives. Every day they wake up and they create their lives and people in a free way, in a way that they want and they choose, right? Not dictated by anyone else or any other culture. That's kind of I'm not sure if that's how they live. I'm not saying that, but that's the idea behind what the words Freemason means. Now, they'll view everyone else as some kind of Mason because they are building a reality, but who are they building a reality for? Now, if you're, sucked into what's going on in the news stuff, you're really, in a way, building a reality for somebody else, whoever
The
created that
egregore.
material, and you're feeding into the egregore. Exactly. And as you feed into that, egregore and your belief gets pushed into it, it makes it stronger. And then you just kind of get enveloped into it. And I think in the past, and I don't know how this works, this is the other thing. We believe we live in some kind of crazy spiritual realm. Everything is energy if you zoom in on it. So it's not really that crazy of a
Theory.
belief to have. It's not that crazy of a theory, right? So we believe that. So um I don't know what it was like in the past before, but something happened there was something happened in 2016. A guy got elected, and I noticed all these shifts. Things definitely changed from the past 8 years, and it was like this 4 years of and in between. And 2020 happened, and there was another major thing that happened, and I think that was kind of setting the stage for everything that's going on now. There's a lot of different control tactics and stuff which again we're not going to get into on this show. But so I think previously you could exist in different reality tunnels. It was a little more fluid, as they say. So you could kind of vacillate, you can go back and forth. Everyone's having a good time. Everyone's talking about this, everyone's talking about that. I mean, I remember 2016, everybody was basically a conspiracy theorist. Everyone was talking about the day after September 10th in 2001. Like everybody, it was like, but now it's like, well, we don't know. This guy's our daddy. So that's what we're talking about. Anyway, so before I think you could. Now, I don't know when it was. Maybe it was after the eclipse. I'm not sure how this realm works, but this year for sure, during the beginning of the year, like March, as we transitioned into April and then May, and I feel like Walpurgis is not, or May 1st, May Day, whatever you want to call it, was really that pivotal point. Uh, and things just really started, like synchronicities got a little crazier and people really started to kind of lose their mind out there from what I hear. Again, I don't really pay attention. So that's why we're kind of talking about this, because this is the time we've been talking about forever. It's like, we've been saying do your self work, focus on these stuff, build what you want to build for yourself, because when the time comes for it to get crazy, it's just going to be on supercharge. And that's good for people like us, but it could not be. Well, again, it's going to be good for everybody overall, right? It's like it's what needs to happen. But what I mean is, it's a time for conscious creators to take advantage of and create your own life for yourself and break away from the main culture, if you will, and kind of just exist in your own reality tunnel. And I really feel like that is an option. Everything we've ever looked at and looked into really makes it seem like this realm is a choose your own adventure. You really gotta want to choose. They were making people covering their smiling faces, and they were making people get experimental medical serums injected. But not everybody, it really seemed, and it's Sharon and I really talk to people, and anytime I talk to somebody, I'm like, but were they going to fire you, or were going to do this? And there was a few cases actually, even we know of one specifically, where people did get fired and stuff, but then we hear there was like liability and people got sued for it after and stuff like
Years
that. So,
later, yeah, people are
so
suing and stuff. And
there was
yeah.
still some kind of choice. So that really leads me to believe if that's the case, maybe it wasn't like that before in the realm. Maybe when the Soviet Union took over and there was Genghis Khan and all this shit, maybe it wasn't as much. But now I think we're at the level of consciousness where we do really get a choice. And maybe that's what 2020 was about. And I'm not even saying that from a victim standpoint. Maybe the realm did it all. Or maybe somebody looked out and said, look at all these people who are asleep. They're about to run this country off a cliff. We need to do something and chill out with all this financial stuff. Yeah. So you could even look at it from that way. And all the people who participated built that reality tunnel. And that reality tunnel is going to go down in their history books. And that's really going to be what happened in their minds. And when they tell their children, that's what's going to happen. And it's going to be retroactively created in the realm in people's minds. And then we could get into a discussion whether it really happened or not now then, because we all know what happened in 2020 wasn't what they say, probably. That's what we say, right? But then
And
does it happen retroactively? If it exists in all the history books, people who believe that, it's like it happened that way, because that's how they're going to believe it,
history
right?
is written by
The winners. Exactly. And that's what we're talking about. Be a winner. Write your own history. Don't get sucked into that reality tunnel. Anyway, I've been talking a lot. What do you think, Sharon? You have
what was I thinking while you were talking? Um,
Oh, well, shout out to Tony, by the way. He's in the chat. Thank you, Tony. He's always
yeah.
hanging out. Oh, and Cody too. What's up, Cody?
Tony says this 2025 year solar and lunar eclipse in both March and September, 6 months apart. Ooh.
Yeah, that's C. So what's right in the middle of March and September then? March, April, May, June. Ah, see what I'm saying, everybody? And guess what's in the dead middle? Probably my birthday. Because my birthday's the dead center anyway, and March is the third month, and September is the third month from the end. So we're approaching that center point between these eclipses, solar and lunar.
Yes.
Maybe that has something to do with
And
it. Oh,
interesting that you said that it's the dead center because I heard from somebody, I was messaging somebody that I know, and he's like, "Oh, you're still out in, the area because he lives in Pennsylvania." And he's like, "Are you still in the area?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And he's like, "Oh, watch out for this coming weekend and for the 4th of July weekend because, allegedly there's some things planned for that weekend." So, but yeah, so the
ah.
4th of July weekend or the 4th of July, like,
So probably July 2nd, because
because it's, yeah, the halfway point.
I'm gonna have to be on extra realm duty that day. No, that's this is what
Yeah.
we're talking about, right?
Just protect
Somebody
your energy, that like really start working on
somebody told Sharon something was going to happen. That's like the wave going in. Now, Sharon, it's up to her if she's going to allow that into her thought field and say, oh no, I'm going to be worried. Now I'm going to be worried. Or if she's just going to say, you know what? We all fucking die sometimes. How cool would it be to die in a terrorist attack? They'd remember me forever. They'd have to chant my name over and over again. Let's do it. Like, and then the realm's like, oh, she wants to die that way. Nope. Or who knows? I don't know. But I'm just saying, like, that, or she could be worried about it subconsciously, create an egregore, get sucked into that reality tunnel with everyone else.
and then it happens.
And then could it be that because of that, it causes her fucking footsteps to walk by where it's going on and she either witnesses or sees it? Guys, I flew into fucking Las Vegas as the terrorist shooting was happening in Vegas. You know what I'm saying? Like these things, and what was I looking into at the time? Conspiracies, you know?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
do you
I
create your own reality? I don't know. Did I make that happen in Vegas? No.
I mean, yeah, well, even if you didn't quote make it happen, your energy matched that energy.
And I
So
was
just like
attracted to it.
Joe P always says. So the iron filings in your energy, like where are they pointing? And I was thinking about that too. Like I don't watch any news at all. Like I don't even pay attention. So like I get my news from Cody, not because I want it, but because I'm told what it is. And so, but I'm
Watch
just
out,
like,
Cody. Those reality tunnels, buddy. No, you're fine, Cody. You're so yeah. He's so
but
skeptical that he's like a daywalker. He's just like, nope, not that real.
he
Nope.
just watches it.
Yeah,
But
yeah. I think it's good there's something to be said for categorizing it too, and watching it. And sorry to cut you off, Sharon, but our overall message is just be careful with it. And Cody knows it's probably all fake. Like there's things going on in my own state, and I was like, and I'm still like, I don't know, man. Anyway, go ahead. Sorry.
yeah, so I mean, I'm just speaking from experience, but like my energy filings don't seem to point in those directions because I never find myself in those reality tunnels, shall I say. Um, so I, you know, that's just for me to either keep doing that and, not worry. And the other thing too is like you always hear about, here's the thing, you always hear about something happening, right? And then what happens? Like because it's all being planned out, right? So, you know, allegedly things get placed in corners that people can throw, and those kinds of things. They're just
Oh yeah,
planned
like
out,
the
right?
pallets of bricks and stuff like that.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the
And we're
thing,
talking
okay,
about 2020, everybody, because we have no
yeah,
idea what's going on now. I don't.
yeah. So, okay, that, right? But then, the thing that happened 7-Eleven, did we get warning for that? No, I don't think so. You know what I mean? So like the thing is like people that were wherever they were on, the 7-Eleven event. um,
Snipped. Sorry.
it's like that they just were there when they were there, and that was just their reality tunnel. And the people who are drawn to these places where things are going to happen, well, they're just, creating that egregore along with it. But it's these things, like those things don't usually, to me, I don't think end up really producing anything real, shall I say. It's all just like, what is that? LARPing?
Yeah. Well, that's the thing though, because the Vegas shooting, like I know I wasn't at the concert, but synchronistically enough, I didn't even know somebody else I knew was in Vegas at the same time at that concert, a dude I went to high school with, and he saw things happen. So it's like I really don't know how it works, and I love how you said it could all be planned, right? And it blew my mind because we always talk about trusting the plan. And maybe it is all just planned by God, right? Like maybe there is not these conspiracy cabals that we think. Maybe there's evidence for them and that people think they are kind of doing something, but maybe it's just the way it works out. Or maybe that, like I've said this theory before, there's like one real evil guy in the realm, and he's like the emperor in Star Wars. And I can't really make a Doom analogy because I don't have this. And then he has like a Darth Vader minion who everyone points to or whatever. And he could maybe be the one who's kind of doing satanic rituals and reading the, whatever. But I don't think it's as organized and planned kind of as people think. Because if we are in a spiritual realm, those people that were dead and shot and dying, yeah, this is kind of weird to say because who knows? We talk about NPCs and if they're real or not, and this has no bearing on whether I ever hurt somebody or not. But maybe that person was just like a program, like who I don't know. And again, that talk it's really dangerous,
And even if they're not,
even if they're not. Yes.
you know, you could also look at it like they came into the realm knowing that that was going to happen and they chose that route.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah.
And like, or you could think about it as, karma. Like that was what this lifetime was meant to be for them, for that person. Just like,
Yeah.
Krishna tells Arjuna, like, no one really dies. People don't die.
And the person who's doing the shooting could even think to himself, if they're a spiritual person, they could be like, if God didn't want these people to die, they wouldn't. I'm just going to shoot in the crowd. Now, again, everybody, I'm not giving this as advice as what you should do, but this is how people I feel also sometimes misinterpret it, but it's all for the great plan, right? So we're not saying they shouldn't or whatever, but it gets misinterpreted. And that's why they're like true believers also, too, because they're just like, I'm not really hurting anybody. What's up, Josh? I was like two, maybe three during 7-Eleven. Yeah, I was 25. So I remember it quite vividly. Uh, yeah. That's why we don't like to talk about conspiracies and claims because although there's a ton of circumstantial evidence and there is, plenty of evidence for certain conspiracies here or there, it's harder to point to a giant worldwide cabal that does control everything, even though that could be it. And certainty's the road to ruin. That's why we never make claims. But we're just saying more. You don't want to get sucked into that reality tunnel, because I think what we're seeing now, all these people going crazy, or back and forth and not sure, and they're like really losing their mind. I feel like it's because at the end of the day, really what's happening is their reality is getting manifested faster and they don't know how to deal with it. And so they're kind of just going a little crazy.
Is it me, or do you feel like more people are dying lately? You're just hearing about more people dying,
Yeah.
younger, and just like kind of spontaneously.
Yeah, that's another function too, because we always talk about how at the root of escapism, it's really you're just kind of hurting yourself in a way. It's like a slow suicide. So maybe people who have that and it's more of like they're closer to the edge of it, they're just kind of dropping off because they're literally manifesting their own death. And you could look at it, and I know Sharon doesn't look at it this way, but you can look at it and be sad, or you could say this is a spiritual realm. Maybe they'll just reincarnate in a better situation. They've done all they can here. They got to a point. They can't learn any more lessons. They're just in a feedback loop, right? They're just
Yeah.
burp, 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 burp. And maybe that's what cancer is. Maybe someone gets in a feedback loop with anger or guilt or whatever it is,
Oh,
and it just
absolutely. I
doesn't
mean, it could
allow
be
them to.
anything like that.
grow anymore, and they don't, and so you have that, and that's just one aspect, right? And then the other aspect is their psychological aspect. My life's over. I'm going to be dying soon.
And they
This
create that reality for themselves because they're saying, I'm gonna die soon, or
exactly. And
like,
Sharon and I are going to live to like 120. We're like, this is. We've been doing this show now for 80 years.
yeah, unless I unless I go, you know what? I'm just walking out of this joint.
Yeah.
Or
Oh, what's
or
up,
or,
Nigel?
or like doing the Saint Germain thing, walking through a mirror, or what the allegedly what these monks do when they
Yeah.
sit in meditation and then they go.
Yeah, they just kind of yeah, and again, I'm just gonna go with whatever God gives me. That's what Sharon's
Yeah,
supposed to do.
and that's and yeah, I was gonna just say that to clarify that that's a joke because I don't know how it's gonna happen. So I just joke that,
Yeah.
that may happen. Who knows?
We may, I mean, we're getting closer to this whole mirror reality. We were talking a couple weeks ago. We've been reading. If you haven't been listening to the show, where you been? Yeah, Rainbow Body Exit. There you go, Nigel. We've been
Yes,
reading The Alchemist.
exactly.
We've been reading the Kabbalion and breaking them down. And we've talked about this idea of the mirror realm, the perfect realm, and we exist in a realm that's not perfect. And then I was kind of hypothesizing where maybe we're here because in the perfect realm, you could just manifest things automatically with your thoughts. So it's dangerous to be there, and we're in the timeout realm. We're in the realm where you could just do whatever you want. You could go hold up a package store. You could become a pimp. You could sell crack. Like you could even be a garbage man. You could do whatever you want. And yeah, I like that. The flower shirts.
Mm,
So I think that if that's the case, maybe you have that eight in the realm, and there's some times where we cross over and we get closer to the real reality, and that's when the ascension happens,
It's
or
almost
people
time
are
for the
able.
golden age, maybe. Could it be? Who
Oh
knows?
yeah, and everyone that can't handle it falls out, and everyone else
And
stays
has
in,
to
and
start
then
over,
yeah, I mean, maybe that's the
who
case,
knows?
whatever it is.
Or whatever.
So that's why, and again, we could be totally wrong, but guess what? We're not doing. We're not sitting here going, "Is this a loosh sucking
Yeah.
vampire realm?" And I'm here, and
Yeah.
I'm a fucking
And the
victim. No,
demiurge, and it's a simulation, and yeah, it's just I think that's really victimy to think about.
if
And
I get
just
cat,
me
yeah.
personally.
If I get cast into the pits of hell, I'm gonna be the funniest guy there. I'm gonna bust the devil's balls so hard. Do you know I'm part of an elite group? This is something I realized, Sharon. I gotta say this because I realize I'm part of an elite group of the Marine Corps. Like, there's less of me that was a Marine of what I did than anyone else ever existed in the Marines. I got ordered a couple times to make fun of people and do impersonations. I was like, a superior person told me, "All right, do that impersonation." And I didn't have a choice. How many people could say that? They'd send me in when things were getting dire. They're like, "All right, Brandon, here you go. Get in there." And I just go in, and everyone's mad because we had to, like, work 24-hour days, and everything was because we worked on airplanes, and everything's breaking, and we had to go on a carrier and off, and no one could talk to their family, and they're all pissed off. They send me in, send in the morale. And I just, yeah. So that's just my dharma, I think, and maybe it's a blind spot I have. Who knows? But it's working out great for me. I love it. So and again, all that stuff I just said, it might sound like the ramblings of someone who's like crazy or out of their mind or whatever, but at least it's not, oh my God, I hope I don't go to hell. What if I say the wrong noises with my face in the
Yeah.
wrong order, and then I
Yeah.
go to eternal
Yeah, well
fire? What
that's
am I gonna
fear,
do?
right? That's
Well,
fear.
yeah, yeah.
Um, so Nigel was saying something in the chat about the rainbow
Uh,
body exit, and that's exactly what I was thinking, but I didn't know it was called that until I started reading that book I was telling you guys about the last several episodes. But it's a book by Richard Martini, who's a filmmaker. But he started, talking to people who could talk about past lives where they saw Jesus, like this book that I'm reading. But he's talked to other people that do mediumship and talk to other people. But he's had many people talk, to Jesus. And they were talking about in one of them, the book is called, dang it, now I just forgot the name of the book. But anyway, I've talked about it before. He's talking to Jesus on many occasions and through a medium, right? And um, it says he's talking about the Shroud of Turin and the little thing that went over his face. I forgot what that was called. But he asked like how that was possible to have been made. Like he first asked, is the Shroud of Turin a real thing? And the answer was yes. And then he asked like how was that possible? Like people have studied this, have speculated that it can only happen when the like if the body were to like be light, like if there was light coming out of the body, or like I don't even know how to say expelling light or like
Yeah,
exploding
because it's kind of
light.
like a picture, right? It kind of
Yeah.
like put, yeah, okay. And yeah,
So, and Jesus apparently said that, yeah, that's what it was. And they're like, is this similar to or like a rainbow yoga thing? What did he call it? Rainbow
rainbow
body
exit.
exit. But they called it rainbow yoga. And he's like, yeah, that's what it is.
He's like, yeah.
Hmm.
Ah.
That's
See, and
and
I thought he just pretended to die, did that whole like
he
so
did.
so does breathing down and then just part.
Yes. Yes. And I think it's all part of that. It's all related.
Guys, you don't all right, so I didn't want to have to say this on the show, but I was visited by an angel and he came to me and he said, nobody knows what Jesus was doing in the tomb. Brandon, since you look like you died for everyone's sins, we're gonna tell you. And you know what Jesus was doing? He was reading Dune. And he was only supposed to come out Saturday. He was supposed to come out Saturday. He was only supposed to do one night, and he's like, I need another night to figure this fucking book out. Anyway, so he came out begrudgingly on Sunday. He's like, all right, guy. They're like, come on, dude. You gotta go. You can't. He's like, read it later. You're gonna send to heaven. You can read it then.
That whole like you know it's metaphor when the numbers don't really add up, you know? Because it's like he was in the tomb for 3 days and you actually count and that doesn't add up.
Yeah, it's
Like
like
I always did that when
Friday
I
to
was like
Saturday,
studying it,
Saturday to Sunday.
Sunday to
Is it
Monday. It's
like
like, wait,
3 days, 2 nights? Was
what?
it like
Yeah,
a tomb
exactly. It
vacation?
doesn't, yeah. So that's how you know it's metaphor.
Oh my God.
I
I
mean,
think
that's
I
how
got it.
I thought about it,
I
you know?
think I got it. Yeah, sorry, I'm gonna write that down. Because you're
Or
right.
that it's actually been touched up. The story's been either touched up or it's
Uh,
metaphor or whatever.
because it wasn't 72 hours. It just was during 3 days it happened.
Yeah,
Hmm. I like it.
but
All right. What were we doing?
anyway, what was I saying?
Should we get back to reading? I'm just kidding. No. That's usually what we do at this point in another show.
Yeah,
Yeah, go ahead.
what was I gonna say? Oh, so I could talk about some of the things I was seeing the last because the synchronicities have been kind of crazy
Yeah, let's talk about
lately
personal experiences for sure. Let's dive right in. I'll even share a
for
little bit
me.
about my stuff, but you go first.
So starting on the trip to New Jersey, the road trip, um, that's when I started seeing like synchronicities. And the one of the first ones I saw was giraffe. That was like one of the references I saw. And the funny part was I didn't see a physical giraffe, but on the drive, we're driving through, I can't even remember what state we were in, but there's a lot of trees and greenery around the highway. And the highway's just like the highway, the street, and then trees, just like trees. And at one point, there's a car in front of us, like this red SUV. And then something's coming out of the woods. And I'd never seen what this something was in real life. Like I'd never seen a creature like this. So my mind just saw like this long neck because I didn't really get to see much of it. I saw this long neck and I just thought that looks like a giraffe.
That looks like Brandon. I'm just kidding.
But it ended up being an elk. I
Oh,
mean, it had to have been a pretty big elk, pretty
yeah.
huge. Um, and I was like, oh my God, it's that guy's gonna run over it if he's not careful. But then he slowed down and I was like, elk, move out of the way. And I didn't say that, but I'm just like thinking, oh my God, don't get run over, elk.
Yeah, run
And then
elk.
the elk ran back into the forested area or whatever. But that was my first like, and I thought, why did I think it was a giraffe? That's so weird. But because it, all I could see was like something, and it was very tall. And I just thought, long and tall giraffe. I don't know. But later on, I started seeing more things. Like I'd go into a store and they'd be like a stuffed giraffe, like a toy. Or, I'm just
Oh.
like, I just started seeing those. And then here I started seeing turtles. Here in New Jersey, I started seeing turtles,
Oh, really?
references to turtles. Like
Mm.
um, we went to a coffee shop and it was called Turtle something. And then I went to another coffee shop in another town and it was called Turtle something too. Different. It was not the same brand. They were like what do you call them? Non-chains. So that was that. And then I was also seeing turtle references somewhere else. We were driving in Pennsylvania and there was this billboard and it had a turtle on it and it said some stuff. And I'm just like, Cody even saw it too. He's like, look, another turtle. Because I told him, like, I've been seeing turtle stuff. When we went to the coffee shop, he knew because we went to it. But anyway, so seeing all that. And then I watched a movie the other day that I had been not like, I just was not interested in watching for a long time. But then I thought, you know what? I'll just watch it. And it's called Coraline. I don't know if you ever saw it.
I don't think so.
It's like a cartoon. It's kind of reminiscent of like The Nightmare Before Christmas,
Oh,
but
okay.
even kind of more spooky-ish, kind of like it's allegedly PG, but it's like I would not let little children watch it. It's like creepy as hell.
Like
And it's
Watership Down. You ever see that?
yeah, that one too. I just finished watching that one too. That's crazy you said that.
I love that. I've watched that
I
when I was a
just
kid.
finished watching it because I had put it off for so long. I watched like a little bit of it and I was like,
Yeah,
this movie's driving me nuts. I can't
it's
stand it.
heavy.
It's annoying the shit out of me. And
It's
then I
heavy.
finally finished it the other day. That's nuts. That and I it's same kind of thing. I'm like, why is this movie so freaking weird and creepy? Well, the Coraline movie was like that too, and I didn't mean to watch it. I didn't really know what it was going to be about because I think I'd heard about it before, but I never like looked into like the details. Um, but it was written by one of the guys who wrote Good Omens.
Oh.
I think it was Neil Gaiman or Gaiman, I don't know how to pronounce it. But he wrote Coraline as a book. It became a movie. And he wrote it for his 5-year-old daughter. And I'm like, and allegedly he gave it to another little girl who was like not his daughter and asked her like what she thought about it. Was it like was she gonna like it? Just to see if his daughter might like it. And the little girl like said yes, but like under duress. She like said yes, but she really thought it was
And you're
creepy.
like, the little girl's now a prostitute in LA or whatever. It's like she read the book and now she does crack. You know, it's
It's
like, wow.
really, it's such a weird, creepy ass kind of movie. Like, as an adult, I watch it, but like, I
Yeah.
would not watch that as a kid. That's creepy. So, anyway, there were references to a turtle and a giraffe in both of those. And I'm just like, I did not plan on watching this. It just kind of like was like looking for something to watch. And I was like, okay, I haven't seen this, so I'm just going to watch it now. Same with Watership Down. I was like, it happened within that same day or couple of days where I was like, you know what? I never finished this stupid movie. I'm gonna finish it now. God damn it.
It's crazy that we both
It's so
talked about it.
freaking
You know, I
long.
remember I saw the movie as a child and it was kind of very traumatizing, but it stuck with me. And now, like, as I watched it as an adult, I'm like, whoa, it's so deep. The part with the cigarette. I gotta watch Coraline though. I
I
mean, I
don't
gotta check it out.
remember.
Was it worth watching?
Um, I mean, I guess if you want to watch it. The reason I wanted to was because it was written by Neil Gaiman, who wrote Good Omens. So I was like, oh, he wrote something else. Maybe I want to see kind of his style or whatever. And I was like, you wrote this for children? Like, you could have made it for adults. Like it's okay. You could have
Yeah.
made it, you know what I mean? Or like maybe young adults, like teens or something, you know? But it's still pretty creepy.
Not for a 5-year-old.
No, no, it was not for a 5-year-old.
I mean, unless you have like a conscious 5-year-old that, it's like a genius.
Yeah. So one more synchronicity I'll bring up. I can't remember some of the other ones I experienced, but this one was funny. So interesting. So the other day, Cody's like here in the house and he's like humming, and I always, every time he sings something that I don't recognize, I'm like, what are you humming? What are you singing? And then he's like, oh, Home on the Range, you know? And I'm like, home on the range, like that one. And he's like, yeah. And I'm like, huh, where the deer and the antelope play. And I was just trying to remember like the lyrics, you know. And then we left it at that, whatever. So maybe a day or two later, we're hanging out with some friends in Pennsylvania. Um, and Cody like brings it up because he just like brings up stuff. I can't remember how it came up, but he brought it up to them and he's like, "Do you guys know that song?" And I think they were like younger, so I don't think they knew, so he was like explaining to them or whatever. So I was like, "Okay, whatever." Like I never thought anything of it. So among the other random movies that I decided to watch the other night, another one that I was watching is called Defending Your Life. And I found out about this movie through that Richard Martini book, I think, because it's about like the afterlife, like what happens when you
Oh,
go to the other side. And the storyline is about this one guy who, um, he basically gets hit by a bus, and so to speak, and literally, and then, ends up on the other side and kind of like what happens, right? Well, in one of the like life review moments that he's going through, because in this story, that's what it's about, um,
oh.
he he's going down this hill with a snowmobile and he's freaking singing Home on the freaking Range, dude. I'm like, that never like that song never comes up ever. And like it came up a couple days ago, and now I'm watching a movie where it comes up again. It's like so weird. Home
Come
on the
on, the ring.
range.
Where the deer
Oh,
and
I
the
forgot to mention.
antelope play. And
I
you saw
forgot
an elk. Go ahead.
I forgot to mention the other day too, like 3 days in a row, like things in the house were like doing stuff, like making noise,
Yeah.
whatever. Like
All right.
the bathroom light was like just turning on. Like for a couple of days, it just was like the light would turn on. And like we would have it on the setting where it's like dimmed or like, whatever. And it would just like, no, it decided to turn on. And I was like, that's weird. And one time I like left the bedroom to go to the bathroom and Cody's still in bed and I hear something fall like loud. I'm like, what the heck was that? And I come back in the room and one of the window treatments had fallen
That's
off the,
crazy.
whatever it was attached to on the window. And I'm like, we've been here this whole time. We've been here a couple of years in a row and like nothing happens. And like now all these things were, and then I was hearing noises like a door slam. I heard it like two times. I heard like a door slam or like something loud fall, like at the back of the house. And I'd walk over and nothing. There isn't even a door over there that could slam, you know?
It's
It
so
was just,
crazy.
I'm like, I think Cody's mom is trying to reach him or something.
I mean, it makes sense, especially after you've been reading all these books.
Yeah.
It's
Maybe
nuts.
I'll uh maybe I'll be coming into some clairvoyant or clairaudient powers.
Yeah, I mean,
Kidding. I don't know.
the power, unlimited power. Oh, that reminds me. I don't think I said this to you. Maybe I was saying it to Elizabeth for sure on an audio though when I was out. Yeah, okay, so we were talking before we started about the differences between like the East Coast and the West Coast and dry heat and all this stuff right now. You're from Arizona in the West and you're out here on the East Coast now. What is it? Is it like it's kind of like oppressive, right? This humidity, it's pretty brutal, right? Like, and it's not hasn't even been that hot. Now, I was thinking about humidity the other day in the realm, and I'm like, wow, because I know how it works with the Gulf Stream, or maybe that's air current. Anyway, I forgot there's a stream of water that comes up from the Gulf or whatever and warms the East Coast, and then on the West Coast the water comes down from Alaska. That's why it's cold or whatever. But it feels like the humidity's been getting more intense. I don't know. So I'm like thinking about it. I'm like, is this a warning? Is this humidity literally a warning telling people to fucking not live here? Okay, so maybe I'm crazy, maybe, but if this is a spiritual realm, you know, and we can manifest anything we want or whatever, maybe it's a warning. I don't know, because it's like if you live
Are
in a
you
place that's,
thinking vapor canopy?
oh, I didn't even think that. Maybe it is something to do with the vapor canopy also. But I'm thinking of a warning like it's just a realm's way of telling people not to live here because think about it. If you just say you had a car and you could just move anywhere you want in the United States and you settle here and you're like, oh, it's like Goldilocks, right? You're like, oh, this is too hot. And
Yeah,
then you go here and you're like, it's too cold. And you kind of find a place that's just right.
for
Well, this is
you.
like it appears that it would be just right because you get four seasons and everything, but the seasons are so severe and the weather is so crazy, especially in this area and the humidity. Anyway, I don't know. Maybe it's a warning. I don't
Could
know
be.
what could happen, but again, we're not creating egregores over here and worried about things, but I think it's just a funny way to look at like maybe the humidity is telling us, get away, something's gonna happen, and it probably already did. Look at what happened. I mean, look at Florida and look at New York. It's too late. Uh, something
I
about it
mean,
though. Anyway, go ahead.
I that's a very, very interesting point. And I was kind of thinking not that exactly, but maybe something kind of similar in
Oh,
regards to like this house, not trying to create a reality tunnel or egregore or anything, but like when
yeah.
things are falling off the walls and like that window treatment falling and just like stuff like that. It's like, is it telling us something?
Is he? Well, that's a good. I would say just interpret the omens as they come because it doesn't necessarily have
Yeah,
to be good or because it could
right.
just be, hey, pay attention to me. But you're right though. It's because when you're watching horror movies, you probably don't watch horror
Yeah,
movies, but
I was thinking about all kind of
it
the
always
opportunities and
escalates.
things.
You're
Yeah.
like, why did these people stay in the house? Like I would have just lived outside. I mean, I get it. You bought a house and all that shit, but dude, like sometimes, and it's funny because that really is. It's a perfect analogy for civil society because some of us, there's
Are you
plenty of
listening to the
warnings.
omens? Go ahead.
Right, yeah. And we just kind of checked out of the mainstream, right? And some people are still, it's just escalating, escalating. It's like the news is like a house song that doesn't end. It's just like pop, 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 like all these builds, and then there's just another build, and it doesn't release. People are just like like they want it. We just want to jump up and down, play the play the fucking play the drop. I'm like, nope, we just got all. And then once in a while you get a drop, and you gotta wear a mask. Anyway. That's the bass drop. But yeah, so I don't even know how I started that, but you'll go
Well,
crazy. Try to pay
just
attention. Oh, with the
just
warnings and stuff. Go ahead.
quickly, Josh says, where seldom is heard a discouraging word and the skies are not cloudy all day. And that's the funny part is I forgot about that line. I think Cody was saying that line, and I'm like, that's when I was like, wait, what? Really? And I was like, I guess that's the line. I forgot all about that one.
Oh, that's totally the line because when I was younger, I used to think they were saying the word seldom is heard out on the range because it's like where seldom is heard. I'm like, okay. So people hear seldom, and then that word seldom is a discouraging word. I was so confused. I'm like, how is seldom a discouraging word? And of course, I never voiced these concerns to anyone. It was just always in my head, like,
Oh
I
God.
don't get it. I would just be home thinking about it. This is why I'm a somebody who likes to make fun of because this is the shit I think about. And it's I always tell Elizabeth that too. It's like that meme, where the guy and the girl are laying in bed and she's like, I bet he's thinking about other women. And then like it's a thought bubble and he's thinking about like, I don't know, video games or whatever it is. And I was like, that's like me. I'm like, you might like a woman walks by and you're like, did you or you're thinking about women? I'm like, no, I'm thinking about why seldom is a discouraging word. Like
I'm home on the range.
I'm trying to figure out how using the word seldom could be discouraging. I'm like, and I'm about to lose my mind. Can you please help me with this? Oh, it's literally a phrase so they can make it rhyme or whatever, and they mean a discouraging word is seldom heard. Okay, thank you. That was a close one. I almost went crazy trying to figure that out. No. Anyway, Lewis Black, comedian Lewis Black had a bit like that. And he was like, sometimes, you hear a part of a conversation and it drives you crazy. He's like, one time I was walking in the subway and I heard this lady and she's like, if it wasn't for my horse, I wouldn't have spent that year in college. And he was like, what? And he's like, before I could turn around to find her and explain to me what she meant, because he just like heard it in passing. She was talking to somebody. He's like, before I could make him explain, she was gone. And then I'm just sitting here now all the time. I'm like, if it wasn't for my horse, I couldn't have spent the year. Did she go to equine college? Like, did she get a, he's like, and he's like, 10 years later, he's like, and then I have an aneurysm or whatever he says. He's like, so it's not quite that bad, everybody. I'm not at the Lewis Black. I know how to stop overthinking. But when I was younger, I spent a lot of mental energy trying to figure out how the word seldom was discouraging. Anyway, that's another synchronicity. And I was waiting for that one. I was waiting and I forgot. And then Josh, good. Thank you for bringing that back up. That's why we have our lovely chat because I think you guys need to hear that story. Little baby Brandon. Why is seldom discouraging? People are like, shut up and do your handwriting exercises. We don't have time for questions. Do your multiplication tables. What? Anyway,
Stacy Sunshine, welcome. She says, I thought it was just me.
yeah, see, she knows. It's
Oh.
They do it to mess with smart kids. Other kids just sing it and go along. They probably didn't think about the words. They're like, whatever, I just got to do this because we would sing that in school, I think, or something. I went to a Catholic school, so it was, they had a lot of that. We sang folk songs. We had like a music teacher, and it's pretty cool. I was very fortunate. Small class size, so it wasn't too bad. It wasn't too oppressive until like once I got to sixth grade. I was talking to somebody the other day. I'm like, that's when I just started getting bad grades, and everyone's like, why are you getting bad grades? And I always thought it was me. But I'm like, and I've said this before, like looking back now, I'm like, well, I was bored and they couldn't hold my attention. So I would get blamed for that. What a form of gaslighting, right? You do that to kids. It's like, no, you take a kid, if you can't hold his attention, that's your fault, not the kid's fault. Right? Anyway. So yeah, reality tunnels. I've seen so Sharon talks. Do you have anything else anyway to say about those what you were talking about? I don't want to start on mine if
About what?
about the paranormal stuff or anything else you were talking about. I think that's fascinating, honestly. I mean,
Um, Something that I don't have anything to say about that, but I'll just say quickly. Something that Josh said made me think of something
well, let me pull the
that
chat right now.
Spoons said earlier, or that I said to Spoons earlier. So he said he's talking about overthinking, right? We're over Sharon. So I was thinking overthinking. And then earlier I was talking to Spoons and I said overhearing. And I just thought that was kind of it could be a funny, like a funny thing to incorporate.
Yeah, shout out to Spoons. I haven't talked to her in a while myself, but I haven't talked to anyone in a while. I mean, it's anyway. But no, I know their show. They're still doing their show and stuff. So I mean, that's like the ultimate form of this self work is just do a show and or whatever it is. That's one of the ultimate ways.
Whatever it is you do
Yeah.
that you want to do.
Yeah, that's what I say. Because that's how you explore and it's like what we do on this show. It's great. Um, so yeah, I guess back to the reality tunnels and kind of what I was saying earlier. I don't really look at the skies and the constellations as much anymore. I mean, definitely. And yesterday was a full moon. Did anyone else? kind of feel the
Oh,
intensity? Like,
hmm.
was anyone else having like disagreements with people or out there in the chat world?
I heard of disagreements of certain people.
Yeah, over here we're doing well. We worked out some stuff. I mean, I'm telling you, it's great. But it was just really intense energy. And I did a gig on Tuesday during the day. It was like a corporate gig, and I could also tell it wasn't like I've done this gig a bunch of times. It's near the beach and stuff, and it just wasn't like it had been in the past. People just seemed pretty bummed out. Uh, but I did get a lot of compliments, at least on the. I was playing everything. It was a real big mix of people, so I love that. But anyway, I played Johnny Cash even. I was like, yeah. But I'm just noticing, and I'm excited to see what it's going to be like this weekend after the full moon. I have another party I'm doing Friday and a wedding Saturday, so it's always a good gauge. I mean, the wedding we did Sunday, I did a wedding Sunday night, and those people were all from out of state. A lot of people from like Buffalo or whatever, but they weren't like the typical Connecticut crowd. They were having it's hard to explain. Everybody has fun and dances and all this stuff, but there's just something about it's a state. Nothing against people from Connecticut. Like all my clients are always great. It's hard to explain, but anyway, there's just more smiles, I guess I could say. But these people were going for it. It was definitely you could tell full moon energy week, you know. So I hope everybody used it and is using it to their highest and best good, which technically everything is for your highest and best good. It's just whether you see it or not, right? I mean,
Absolutely. Good point.
oh, there's
Good point.
spoons. Two different
Oh,
people
hey.
tried to run me off the interstate yesterday. People have been super aggressive. Yeah. Oh, that's
Oh.
another thing I noticed a little bit. People, this one guy, I don't know what, a little aggressive, and then he kind of got next to me, and then he drove away really fast because I was telling Elizabeth, I'm like, when you look in this car, because she has a Ford SUV. I'm like, when I'm driving and you look in, you just see shoulders. Like you're expecting to see like a head, and you just see the shoulders, all his hair, and half of a beard. Like you're just like, all right, I'm gonna keep going because I don't want anyone's in there. Like. I mean, whatever, but yeah, it's so funny. That's why I tell her I'm like, people are just silly, whatever. But yeah, I don't know. And I think it does have to do with this like reality tunnel split because the people who are, they're out of the car, they're fine. And this is another one, man. This is a good place to realize how your self-work's doing. Go for a drive on an interstate
Oh,
at
yes.
rush hour and see how your
Yeah.
self-work's doing.
Yeah.
And
I mean,
But think about it. If they could get you back in, or if you could get sucked back into this egregore reality tunnel because of the road rage, then it's like another way. We talk about this universe being a giant ball busting machine all the time. Every time now it seems that something happens, it's like a blue truck is around, and I'm like, oh, Krishna. I'm like, you messing with me again? Shri Krishna, you're out there screwing with me. And then it just goes away. I'm like, oh, look at this guy behind me. I'm like, he's trying to read my cell phone from back
well,
behind me.
Krishna did say to always keep your thoughts on him. So if you're not doing it, he's going to find a way to get your thoughts on him.
Exactly. Blue trucks. Yeah. So, I mean, yeah, that's what I was saying, the reality tunnel thing. There's so many ways that so okay. The traffic thing. So this is a place where even seasoned veterans of like spirituality will fuck up, I say seasoned veterans or whatever, people who think they're all that.
Or like Ram Dass says, if you want to test out your spirituality, or I'm paraphrasing, spend a week with your family.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that because I was thinking that exactly. We must have had the same zip go through, or I got it from you because it's exactly right, right? So because of that, because it's such a stressful situation, and people walk around or drive around with all this outrage, and they just look for an outlet, and then as soon as they perceive that they were offended in any way, they just let it all go. And what does that mean? That means they're going to drive off the road, try running off the road, freak out, all this stuff. And I think it is happening maybe even a little more because even people who are spiritual, like I said, can fall victim to this road rage thing. So out there, it's really, yeah, family always tests you. Yeah, Josh. Let me tell you, Josh, we're being tested. Yeah. But again, I think it's great. You can look at why you have a problem with your family and say, okay, why do I have a problem? What is it? Right? Why don't I want to do it? There's something within me that's seeing that this isn't perfect. There's somewhere where I'm still looking for validation from this person, even though I don't realize it. Do I have a blind spot? You know, do I think that I could explain to somebody who isn't 6'5" with this voice what it's like to look like this with this hair and have this voice when you go places and people just love you and give you everything you need and you probably never have to worry about anything? No, you can't explain that to somebody. So you just got to let it go. And
We,
I think that's where the real work lies. We move away and then we move back and then we try to work it out. And it doesn't mean you always have to stay around your family. Hey, if it's not what you're feeling, we're not telling you to go do it. Sometimes you have to have that distance, anyway,
the
sharing
way
stuff.
I've been thinking about things recently sometimes is I will remember that this is all fake, right?
Fantasy.
Or I'll tell myself, right? And then I'll think to myself, okay, well, I'm like an actress in my own movie. And so I'm observing myself and what I'm doing and my responses or how I'm behaving or whatever. And just thinking to myself, this is just a show. This is a movie. This is a movie of me. And how am I going to behave? How am I going to what is my next what are my next lines? Maybe could it be?
I love it. Yeah. And again, people could say they could say that's silly or whatever, but you could just be like, hey, you know what? At least I'm not sitting here
It
saying
it
I'm a
works.
victim.
Yeah.
I'm a victim or whatever.
Yeah.
And we all, it can happen to all of us. And, Sharon and I are not immune from these feelings of being feeling like a victim and having outrage. Things happen. And that's what this is about, this self-work. It's really just it's funny that we even have a show at all because you really can't tell anybody what they have to do or how to do. You can kind of just point the way and have some laughs while you're doing it. And that's really what, and I was explaining this to Elizabeth last night too, because, we talk about all the time, because she has, my lovely wife Elizabeth lives with me. So I understand why she used to watch the show, but now it's just like she gets the Brandon show 24/7. But some of the things she's been kind of, working on and stuff, we were talking about self-work and how it's like, like say this is you. You're like, oh, I'm just gonna be great. It's like no, it's like up and down and backwards, and you're all over the place. And I was talking about that with her, and that's really kind of what it looks like in my best estimation. People will trick you and say, hey, buy my book, and all your problems will be over. I know the secrets to the universe. And if you only just fast this day and then you pray to that guy and you meditate on
That's
this,
so funny. I just saw a book because I look through books sometimes, book lists sometimes, and I saw this book description saying like, oh, all these books will try to tell you that, you know, they have the answer to whatever. And it was like, I think the book was a memoir about how she tried to read all those books and they didn't do what they promised, basically. So now she was going to write kind of a memoir about kind of how that all works. And to me, that sounds like, yeah, it's kind of like what we're doing, where we just talk about things and everybody's different. Everybody's going to choose their own adventure, you know? Someone else's solution isn't going to be your solution necessarily. I mean, it could maybe one day be, or it could be for some people, but not for everyone.
it could show you the way. But you're right. If you're stuck in another person's exact way that they do it, you're really just creating their reality tunnel and helping them. And again, it's
Mhm.
not nothing wrong with that. It's better than some spots. Stacy said she blows bubbles in traffic. Shout out to Stacy.
Funny.
What a great idea. Josh, I wanted to say this earlier when Sharon was talking about the things in the house. You ever read about the will of objects, like a ball's will to bounce.
Oh,
Oh, like a ball's will is to bounce. There's a lot of stuff I found neat. Oh, yeah, that it makes sense. I mean, there's so many.
interesting. I've never heard of that.
What is this realm? Like I don't know. That everything has consciousness,
Hmm.
allegedly, because
Yeah,
everything is
right.
energy.
Yeah,
I mean, you don't gotta
that's
say
valid
anymore.
point. Thank you, Josh. Hmm.
People around me start laughing. It's great. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's all about bringing a little bit of, yesterday. we were driving in the parking lot of this place, and this guy had these two young children, daughters or whatever, maybe his daughters. One had a stick. They were probably like 3 and 4. And we drove around. It was like an island kind of thing that was in the parking lot or whatever. It's hard to explain, but we drove around and came back around. And as we did, one of his daughters ran right out in front of a car. Like he had to run and stop it. And it was just a parking lot, so the lady wasn't even going fast, but she slammed, hit the brakes. The guy came and got the daughter. And then we were coming and passed the lady right after that happened. And she looked at us and she was like, it's like an older lady. She's like, like, oh
Yeah,
my God. I'm like, yeah, dude, that was close.
close
What if you
call.
were someone who was texting and driving or drunk or whatever, and not some nice old lady who was actually paying attention? It's like, dude, people are going crazy out there. Why are you standing out there with your kids, dude? No, I don't know. Anyway, didn't make sense.
Well, that was all for a reason.
Yeah, so we could talk and laugh about it.
And
Yeah.
he could maybe learn a lesson about it. I don't know. Maybe
Yeah,
the
by the
little
look on
girl
his
learns a
face,
lesson too.
he didn't look like he was some deadbeat. He just like for 1 second probably looked away and was like fucking figures.
That
Trust
happens,
me, kids are yeah, yeah, so he looked like he was a pretty capable guy. Well, we're getting, is it really 3:36?
Yeah.
Have we really been going for like an hour and a half?
Hmm.
Does it feel like we're going for like 20 minutes, right? Or is it just me?
Um,
Or does it feel like we've been going for a long time for
no, it
two?
doesn't feel like we've been going for a long, long time.
Maybe not 20
But
minutes, but yeah. Never mind.
one of the
Don't
last
rely
times
on
we
my sense of
recorded,
time. Sorry.
one of the last times we recorded, it like flew by. I didn't even, it was crazy. Today, I think I was monitoring the time a little bit more. That's probably why.
Oh, all right. Oh, also I don't have either. Most times I just put one contact lens in. Today I don't have either. So for me to see the actual time, I just have to lean forward a little. So maybe that's what it was too. I just haven't been able, and I just been having so much fun flowing. Shout out to the chat. Morelawsmoreproblems.com, everybody. I gotta say now because I haven't. If you're new to the show, thank you so much for listening all the way to the end. Time isn't linear in Brandon's land. In Brandon land, yeah, that's sure. I'm on tall people time, everybody. I don't know. I think maybe it's a function of what's going on, and I just also have a lot going on in my life too. So, more than normal, but it's gonna about to get back to normal in a couple weeks. I'm so excited. So I'll calm down a little bit with my mental scatteredness. Well, I'm still gonna be there, but now it's like on extra high. It's crazy. But there's been a lot of good art coming out of it. If I had my book here, I wrote a couple of poems, but there's a reason I'm not reading. No, it's rap songs.
You almost look like Pirates of the Caribbean right now with
Yeah,
that.
so people sometimes say that I got these mala beads. I've been wanting it
Oh, you wrap them
recently.
around your arm, your wrist?
Yeah, because it was sold as like a bracelet, but you could do that or however you want. But usually monks
Oh,
wear them and count them. But they're
yeah.
nice. They're wood. I don't have the tag now to read them, but they're
Oh,
all hand carved, 108 beads, three special kinds of wood. And it's something I've been really looking for like a long time, and wasn't even that bad because I had a couple that I'd gotten on Amazon, and then some nice ones that I wanted were over like 50 or 100 or $200, and they just were in the crystal shop, and it was like a good quality, but a good anyway. It's not a commercial, so I was excited. Feels like a few things are kind of sliding into place now. It's a good time. So again, everybody, just be aware and try to be in the moment and keep your thoughts focused on what you want to see, not what you don't want to see. Because your attention, could it be that it multiplies wherever your attention is? And the universe might not understand the word no. We talked about this concept before, like, and even with my cats, because I feel like might be some kind of psychic way to tap in. And I'm not saying you should get cats. Cats are the greatest. But what I'm saying is because we're all consciousness, I could probably tap into the whatever, but there's a connection that I've noticed, and whenever I've wanted them to not do something and thought about it, they would always do it. So I started to think to myself,
the things that
instead
you
of
want them to do, that you want to see them do.
like just laying here nice and having a good time instead of climbing over everything. And you imagine that psychic cats, and they do that. And then when told this story, if you did whatever little anecdote, how when I was living at my parents when we first started the show, I would let my cats out of the house more, and sometimes they'd roam around the neighborhood. And instead of freaking out about it, I would just imagine them coming back to me. And every time they eventually just started walking back to me, and there was no uh, fear or pressure or whatever, any of that stuff. So it's kind of like I just watched a quick clip on YouTube, Rodney Norman, and he was like, he's like, I don't know about worrying. He's like, when you worry, he's like, how you have a fantasy about something and you're fantasizing, and then when you're done fantasizing, it doesn't come true. He's like, well, worrying is like fantasizing about stuff you don't want to happen, and then mostly doesn't come true either. I was like, so, that's all we're trying to say, everybody. I know Sharon's been doing it. I've been doing it. We've just been saying, you know what? We're gonna let how God work. Let's see how God works this out, or whatever, or how it works out, and how God plans for it to work out. And it's been working out in ways we can't even imagine that we would ever be able to plan. It's things just happen. So we're proof here, and I'm just glad I wanted to talk about that today. So I guess we could wrap this up, do a little commercials, and talk to the chat. Unless there's anything else you wanted to.
I think I'm good.
All right. Well, shout out to the chat. I was started to say it, but I went on a tangent. Thank you guys so much for being here. If you're new, amazing. Thank you listening all the way to the end. We hope that you got at least some entertainment out of this. We don't care if people don't agree with us. We, in fact, hope that some people don't agree with us, because we want them to have their own opinion and not be swayed by us. Don't worship us, everybody. Morelawsmoreproblems.com is the website. Big shout out again to the chat. Thanks, Josh. Thanks, Cody, for coming by. Stacy Sunshine, Spoons.
Tony.
And what she said too, I wanted to read what she said, which was funny because she's like, yeah, if you think you're spiritual, when we were saying that, she was like, or drive rideshare for a year. You're right. It's a great test of where you are really at. Oh, of where you're really at with self-work. Some days it's great, and some days I scream obscenities at new volumes. Yeah, and new people.
New
Oh, I
volume.
get it. One thing I did, I'll tell everybody, I might have said this on the show, but a few weeks ago, I didn't scream at somebody, but I was driving just on these back roads near whatever in Connecticut. And I drove by and I saw, those Tesla trucks. I saw a Tesla truck parked out in front of some place, and he was taking up more than one spot. And the guy was driving was dressed like a douchebag. And I just rolled down the window. I'm like, it's like a douchebag trifecta. And he definitely hurt me. I'm like, dude, not. I'm like, could you do any more? I'm like, I bet you there's something else you're doing we don't even know. You're probably on the phone doing something really douchey too. No, it was just so funny. I'm like,
What was the
I,
third thing?
the way he was dressed, I can't remember exactly what it was, but it was just so pretentious or whatever, to go with. I'm just like, you're in this truck, you're taking up like three spots because he was, you go in a spot, he was just perpendicular, just like pulled up in front of the place, taking up all the spots. It was so
Yeah,
funny.
that's funny.
I mean, whatever, maybe he was supposed to do that. I just thought it was hilarious. This guy's killing it. Anyway, I'm sure he's a great dude. Whatever. Those things look fun. Maybe you want to pretend like you live in the future.
Yeah.
I thought the future was going to be flying cars, but instead I get to work at a grocery store once a week and bring up my own and pack my own stuff and get yelled at by the cash register for not packing quickly enough. I get it all. I'm getting gaslit by a gaslit by a gas pump. No. All right. Anyway, yeah, thank you guys for sticking around all the way to the end. Or wear hipster glasses. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it was something like that. I was just like, I don't know, dude. And trust me, I'm not like somebody who dresses conservatively. I get it. I've been wearing this thing, my Pendleton. I've been wearing this thing everywhere. What a great, like, I see why now people who are on the range wear it, because even when it's hot and sunny, this thing is amazing. It keeps my neck like, what was I thinking about? Like, now that I look like Rob Zombie or somebody, people always do that. They're like, who's that fucking giant? Is he gonna? All right. So stay tuned though, for more episodes. We're gonna be talking about the Cavalian. We're gonna be finishing up the Alchemist soon. That's the summer of oversharing here in 2025. We're gonna make our reality manifest in the way we want it. And join us there in our reality tunnel at the Oversharon Reality Tunnel. You can go to morelawsmoreproblems.com. Join the Great Pyramid Scheme for just one like a week. You could be part of our Great Pyramid Scheme. And
One thumbs up a week.
one thumbs up a week, and you don't have to worry about getting sucked into these other reality tunnels and vacillating and going crazy and shorting out. You could just hang out here and know that everything you're doing even if you don't want to be doing it, is what you're supposed to be doing in this moment to get you where you need to go. All
Indeed.
right. Indeed. We love you guys so much. Thank you again. And what do we say to the good people, Sharon?
Once you start oversharing,
Then you totally stop over Karen.
that's right.
And remember, everybody, we're definitely not trying to tell you how to live.
We're just reminding you that people like Gollum take it all with them when they go.
That's right. That whole reality tunnel is going to ship its way out of our reality, and we're not even going to have to worry about it. It's going to be glorious. And even if it doesn't, and we do, we'll still keep the
It's
show
still
going.
glorious.
I'll be the funniest guy in the FEMA camp, and Sharon will have the best laugh in the FEMA camp, and we'll just there we go. I'll be the funniest. Sharon will have the best laugh. All right, everybody. Take care. Ciao. Have a great weekend until we meet again. We'll see ya.
Ciao.
Keep over, Sharon. All right.